what's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to, yes, your educational story. Today we're going to deep dive a little bit into mindset. Hey, what's up? Jay Badman in the house. What's going on? Hey, Deb. Okay, Anderson. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome back. Stefan J. Will is in the house. What's going on? Jay Badman. Shout out to you, Jay. It's an honor to know you. Cecil, what's going on? Alita, see GT is repping tonight. Shout out to Guyana. Shout out to you guys. Come on in. Yeah, tonight we're gonna deep dive a little bit into mindset, and we have a very special guest, Stefan J. Will, is gonna join us in a little bit. What's up, Sonny? Hey, Kawan. Good to see you. It's good to see you coming on. Good to see you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Yes, Your Educational Story. Because we all have a story to tell, right? But what is your educational story? So we're just going to wait for some people to come in. But like I was saying, we're going to deep dive into mindset tonight a little bit, and the importance of setting those foundations early. And I want to give a shout out to Robert Leader, principal of Lehman High School for over 27 years, and one of my mentors, and a gentleman that did a lot for me in terms of, letting me know what it meant to be a real leader. Anila, what's going on? Good to see you. Come on in. All right, good evening. Good evening, Kwan. Shout out to Antoinette. And so mindset is so important. From the day you're born, your parents set certain expectations. They all, they want you to be successful, of course, right? But I think it's important that we deep dive a little bit about what that looks like in terms of us truly wanting to be successful. Like I said, there is nothing as powerful as changing your mind. There's that old quote that goes, what is it? Though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. Mindset is so important. It's about setting a precedence. And Robert Leader, as I said, principal of Lehman for 27 years and one of my mentors, he was like that. He instilled a certain level of what it meant to be excellent. And when you're a school leader, Robert Leader, school leader, he used to run that joke all the time. My father was a leader, his father was a leader. But anyway, he instilled a certain level of expectation and a certain level of discipline. And when you send your kids to school, do you not want nothing less than the best? When you look at every child as your own in the school system, it's easy to support them that way. See, Mr. Leader's whole thing was, if you're going to be a teacher, there is no reason. What's up, Iggy? Good to see you. There's no reason why you should you should complain. There's no reason why there should be excuses. You see, complaining has no value. What's up, Ali? What's going on? Bacchus in the house. What's going on? Good to see you. See, when you're a school leader, you can't accept complaining, because complaining has no value, and you cannot accept excuses. Robert Leader was just a leader like that. He expected nothing but the best from his staff. He expected nothing but the best from his students. Robert Leader, I think his whole dream was to be a principal, and that's why he was one of the best principals in New York City for 27 years. And it started with a mindset. It all started with a mindset. And you have to understand that motivation is important, but commitment and discipline is more important. And we're going to deep dive into this because mindset is what separates the best from the rest. And when you think about that, about your mindset, you have to wonder, how much time do you spend working on yourself? Everyone has dreams. Oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a basketball player. I'm going to join the NBA. What's up, Nadia? Welcome. Gianna, what's going on? I'm going to do this, but how much time do you actually spend working on you? How much time do you do that? So, I mean, it's one thing to want to do these things, but people have to understand preparation is the key. Most people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. What's going on, Diesel D? Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Martin Smallhorne, and welcome to Yes, Your Educational Story. The reason, what's going on, Tony? Hey, Madison. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Gail. Gail, welcome. My name is Martin Smallhorne, and once again, this is Yes, Your Educational Story, because everyone has a story to tell. But what's your educational story? And I started this because I truly believe that your zip code should not determine your destiny, and your present situation should not determine your ultimate destination. And I'm going to be hearing, or you're going to be hearing stories from around the world about such students and adults that did not allow their zip code to determine their destiny. We're so blessed and so fortunate, by the way, to have four sponsors now. Tonight's sponsor number one is Miss Fanny's Sweet Shop. Miss Fanny's Sweet Shop is sponsoring us, and let me tell you something about Miss Fanny's Sweet Shop. The cakes there are amazing, and the cupcakes. And I have had a couple, maybe a little bit too much, but I've had a lot, and it is delicious. So if you go to MissFannySweetShop.com and you enter the code YES, Y-E-S, you will receive $5 off your first order. Miss Fanny's Sweet Shop. Sponsor number two is Bloom Empowerment. And Miss Fanny's Sweet Shop, by the way, is in the post right there. Sponsor number two is Bloom Empowerment. And if you go to bloomempowerment.org, you can help support the college scholarship program, Bloom Empowerment. Shout out to Bloom Empowerment. And sponsor number three is a very good friend of mine, Dr. Hassan Tedder. Shout out to Dr. Tedder, whose book was just launched. I think this is his fourth book. Dr. Tedder presents The Art of Human Care for COVID-19. Very important topic right now. Queen K, what's going on? Asmira, what's going on? Hey, Chris, what's up? And so shout out to Dr. Tedder on his fourth book, cardiothoracic surgeon, doing great things out there. If you reach out, you can get his latest book, The Art of Human Care for COVID-19. And sponsor number four, shout out to Nicolette Emerson Massage Therapy, because self-care is the most important thing on this world, right? So go to NicoletteEmerson.com and enter YES20, and you will receive 10% off your first massage. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Yes, Your Educational Story. Tonight we have a very special guest, Stefan, who will be joining us. And again, everyone has a story to tell, but what's your educational story? And tonight we're going to have Stefan share his beautiful, magnificent story. So if you just give me a second here, we will invite Stefan in. And just give me 1 second. All right. Okay. Mr. Stefan is going to be joining us in a little bit. Look forward to hearing the story. Got an exciting story tonight. And there he is, the man, the legend, Mr. Stefan. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Martin. How are you doing?
Good evening, Stefan. As usual, state your zip code.
Well, it's changed a lot, right? So, but the one we're going to work with tonight is 10469. That's where I first landed when I came to the Bronx.
Okay.
And spent the majority of my time. So 10469 is where it's going to be. But my brother lives in 10461, which is Lehman's. So
wait. What you say 10469? What is that? What neighborhood is that?
That is basically East Chester Road,
East Chester,
Boston Road in the Bronx.
Okay.
Yeah, BX. I see a couple of people in here. Yeah.
Big up to the BX.
All day, every day. But yeah, so I guess I'll start from the beginning, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a good place to start, my brother.
People have heard me tell this story before, but of course I was born in Guyana, in Georgetown, Guyana. And I came
shout out to, wait, let's not. Well, let's not just skip over that part, okay? Because there's a lot of Guyanese people on the line right now, and they want to be shouted out, right?
Right.
So shout out to GT Massive. Shout out to
Yes.
Guyana, Berbice, Kaija Falls,
Where like 6 people live.
Demerara,
Demerara. Before you butcher
Demerara.
anything.
What else? Did I say Berbice? Georgetown, Macdoom
Yep.
Village. Shout out to Macdoom.
Magdum.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, so I was born in Georgetown.
Okay.
And I went to Stella Maris Primary School. I'm still in contact with a couple of my friends. So since we're talking about the journey of education, I think I'm going to start at Stella Maris, where I believe I got probably one of the best foundations for education. So in Guyana, we really do believe in education. I believe, at least when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And a good example is the fact that even though we went to school from like 9 to 2 or 3,
Yeah.
probably about 80% of my class stayed until about 5 and paid the teacher's salary until 5 p.m. to stay. So we kind of had a cultural acceptance of education being like the thing. And my mom being a teacher, you didn't really have a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're there. You don't have a choice. So that's sort of where it began. At Stella Maris Primary School, where I think we had friendly competition with each other.
Okay.
That
didn't sound too friendly, by the way.
I don't know if everyone would agree, but I think we had friendly competition with each other, and we often knew who was the top person in the class, who was doing the best. I mean, there weren't any real secrets there, so that was helpful. And I think we had a culture where you helped each other in class as well. Even though we were competing, anyone that knew something, they wouldn't hide it from you. So
Okay.
That's sort of how it all began. And then, of course, there's the whole immigrating, which is a big deal. I definitely want to like hone in on that whole transition, because a lot of people have their immigrant story, and it sometimes begins with some sort of like treachery, some negativity, something bad, running away from something.
Yeah.
I didn't have a bad life in Guyana. I was not struggling. My family was not struggling. I did not have a bad life in Guyana. I left my dog behind in a nice house, everything, and came to the United States because my mom got a job in New York.
Okay.
So, you know, that's also the other thing. We came here, my mom came here with a job, and we settled in the Bronx. I think stopped in Long Island for a bit first, but then settled in the Bronx. Shlomo, that's my friend in Israel.
Shlomo, shout out to Shlomo.
The
The Rapasad out there. Shout out to Rapasad and Rashad.
But so now I get to the Bronx, and that's a whole experience in of itself, right? Living in an apartment, using a laundromat, not having a car, not having a TV. When we moved in, we didn't have a TV, a computer, anything. I mean, really. And my mom, I recently spoke to my mom, told her I was going to do this, and she reminded me of the fact that at some point in Guyana, we even had, I mean, it's not extremely pretentious here, but we even had a driver at some point. So when I say the fall from grace really happened at JFK Airport, it really did happen. I walked out of that airport with my tennis racket on my back, and I thought I was going to resume the same quality of life. And that's probably the biggest joke I've ever played on myself. But at 11 years old, what else do you think, or what else do you expect?
Yeah.
So, you know, you go to school, and then you realize you don't really fit in with certain groups, right? You don't have enough swag for some, and you don't have the vernacular for others, and you probably don't have the color for some groups. So there's also that experience of like, well, where do you fit into the larger American story? If it is sort of, you know, if it is true about this country that everyone has room here. So that took a little bit of time, I think, to acknowledge, get used to, realize that, you know, you're really just gonna have to learn things a little differently. But that foundation from Guyana, with education being key, and with my mom being a teacher, it really made things a lot easier to navigate. Because when we went to school, as an immigrant, they want to put you back automatically. That's and it's for good reason. Sometimes English is your second language. Sometimes you need the transition period. But my mom said to the guidance counselors, why don't you actually give them a comprehension exam and then place them?
Oh,
And me and
that's
Wendell,
smart.
me and my brother, ended up skipping grades when we came here because
Yeah.
the comprehension, I guess we did good enough to go a grade ahead.
And
And
for
that was
those
very cool.
for people who don't know, most when you come from the West Indies to schools in New York City, because our system, and I say our because I'm from Jamaica, but the West Indies and the Guyana school system is so accelerated, they don't feel like when you come here that you should be at a certain grade level. So that's just a unfortunate commonplace. Okay.
Right. And because my mom is an educator, she wasn't going to let it happen.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing of just like, well, we don't really go off of your policy. We go off of ours, and ours is my mom's, which is
Yeah.
you get graded and placed on merit, not on how someone feels.
Yeah.
And so said, so done. And then, of course, my brother, because he came for the 8th grade, he had to like kind of like finesse his way into Lehman. Basically, my parents had to go and beg for him to come in because they had already missed the application process. So middle school is whatever. It's a flop. I didn't do so great. It's transitioning.
Yeah.
Stefan's quote unquote finding himself. I don't think I got into too much trouble,
Okay.
but it wasn't really wasn't my flourishing time, but it was fine. It was good.
Okay.
MS 144 in the Bronx.
Shout out to them.
And now time comes for high school, and this is where some of the bigger transitions take place. I went to Grace Dodge in the beginning, and
You went to Grace Dodge first?
Yep.
Really?
So I got accepted to Grace Dodge, and that's
Okay.
where I started high school. And I was not coping, as some would say. I went to the bridge program in the summer before, so I knew the school and everything, and I guess maybe it was very comfortable.
Yeah.
But this is one of those schools where you're not really there to learn. You're there to be housed temporarily until they're done with you for the day. And I need a little bit more structure than a cage, because I need, because I will destroy it. I mean,
Yeah.
and I did. And I found myself getting in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And then here again, my parents swoop in, and they're like, we are setting up a meeting with Robert Leader, the principal of Lehman High School, to get you transferred, because this is not going to work, right?
Okay.
Like you're not. I think I failed gym like first semester or something like that. Lost my mind, bugged out on the teacher. Didn't really react very well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wait. What happened with tell us about the meeting with Mr. Leader.
Well, that's where we're going right now.
Okay. All right.
That's where we're going right now. So my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and my understanding is the way this meeting was set up is because my brother played tennis for Lehman, and Mr. Leader played golf with Dave Solomon, the tennis coach.
Okay.
So the biggest finesse in public school history takes place where I get an interview basically to get into this school. Okay. And I show up and I'm all dressed up, buttoned down, because my mom is like, you are going to make an impression, and you're going to basically, this is up to you. You're already screwed up with your nonsense, and now it's up to you to fix it. And I'm getting you to the table. Take the horse to the well. It's not your choice if he drinks, but you take him to the well. Yeah. So the first thing Mr. Leader says is, "Why are you all dressed up? What are you guys doing to this boy? What are you doing to him?" First thing, and my mom's the one who reminds me of the story. He's like, what is this? He's like, "Why do you want to come here? Talk to me. And then he's just like, okay, your brother plays tennis? Okay, all right. And you're going to join the tennis team too, all right? Okay. Calls over to the dean's office and just sends me over there. They take my old ID from Dodge, and that was it. That was a Lehman High School student. They actually stopped doing principal-to-principal transfers not too long after this, because, well, whatever. I'm not going to get into politics of public education. But
I do want to say shout out to Mr. Leader again. I started off the show by saying shout out to one of, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest principal that I've ever met in my 25 years as an educator. And also, Mr. Leader, there's a street being renamed tomorrow outside of Lehman, Leader's Way, I believe.
At noon or 1, yeah.
And well, expected. And shout out to him and his family, Randy Leader, Mark Leader. Shout out to all of them, and Robert Leader, rest in power. One of the greatest principals of all time. Sorry, guy.
Yeah, so quite literally where I'm falling off the rails is when Robert Leader walks into my life, or I walk into his, because I walk into his office. And without hesitation, sort of like understood that it's not a dress shirt that this kid Stefan needs. This Lehman High School probably, and probably to be with his brother with a little guidance. And he didn't waste any time. You don't have to impress me, you know, almost automatically. And the other thing is, he never forgot my name. So after that meeting, every time he saw me, he called me by my name. So just imagine in a school of 4,000 students, the person who let you in there personally stops you every time they saw you, addressed you by your name, and felt personally invested in your success and what you were doing.
Yes, and that was one of his superpowers. He knew every single student.
Yeah, I have no idea how. Yeah.
And easily over 4,000 kids. That's when Lehman was one campus. And this is just one of his superpowers. You know, the guy's a legend.
Right. And of course, part of that sort of like openness to the world, or just in the inviting spirit of leader, we had all those cool programs. And that gets me to the America-Israel Friendship League, which, you know, I'm all about culture, I'm all about languages. And then in comes this amazing program where we can get to actually have people from the Middle East come and live with us in the Bronx.
Shout out to Gail, she's on the line.
Yes, and Miss Peters. I'm going to get to you too with the law team. That was the law team teacher. Another one who had to calm my spirit when I wanted to like fight on the platform when we're going to moot court competitions. Stefan wants to fight.
Shout out to these great educators that are in students' lives early.
And patient educators.
Yes.
But so the most amazing thing about the America-Israel Friendship League is they were bringing students from Israel to the Bronx. When we had, like in the United States, we actually designed our roads so we pass through certain areas so we don't see it. So we're not inconvenienced by that portion of the world. And here we are, these Israelis were coming, they came to stay at my parents' house, 2 of them in the Bronx, right? I was blown away by that fact. And that openness,
in the Bronx,
right?
In the Bronx,
right? And that openness led me to believe that there was something special about Israel and the people. And of course, we fast forward a little, and I get to go. I didn't get to go with the program because there was so many technicalities, immigration stuff, and Miss Beck, another legend, my calculus teacher.
Shout out to Yvette Beck.
Miss Beck, who would not let me leave to go and travel when I have an AP calculus exam. Under no circumstances are you traveling and there is an exam that you have to take. There was no, and she was Jewish. She wouldn't let me go to Israel. She wouldn't let me go to Israel because I have the AP exam.
Classic Yvette Beck.
And she also stopped me in the hallway one day and told me, I found out that you failed Math B.
Wow.
And I was like, that's correct. And she said, your brother is taking calculus with me right now. If you plan to be in my class, and I expect you in my class next year, you're going to go and take Math B term 2 and term 3 together. You will pass the Regents and you will be in my class next year. That's what she said. She stopped me in the hallway. She said, you're going to go right now to the math department. You're going to speak to the head of the department. And this is what you're going to tell them.
Level of expectation.
And I did exactly that.
Yes.
I did exactly that. I took Math B term 2 of 2 and 2 of 3. I was told you couldn't do those things.
But Stefan, why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. Why did you do it?
Well, number one, I never really had that quote unquote poverty of the spirit in that I didn't think I can do certain things, but you often needed like that extra push or reminder of what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like maybe the teacher that allowed me to fail, and I say allowed because I passed it the next time around, right? So in this case, I'm going to say you allowed me to fail. So maybe the teacher that allowed me to fail just wasn't as invested, but Ms. Beck had my brother.
Yeah.
And she knew, I guess, our DNA and our caliber. And so to her, I can actually take 2 courses of math at the same time, pass, and then take calculus and also pass that.
And Stefan, during this time, Lehman is a big school. As we said, you're talking about 4,500 students. How were you able to walk between the raindrops, you know, and like focus on that? How come you didn't like, you know, get distracted or sidetracked?
Well,
what was it?
So of course I had an extremely like stable home.
Okay.
I don't want to call it strict because it really wasn't strict. If anybody knows me, I was out all hours. It wasn't strict, but definitely a stable home, right?
Okay.
So at a minimum, if you stepped out of those boundaries, it would be noticed. If your schedule was off, it would be noticed, right? So that's stability and structure, number one, very important. And the same thing existed in the school. Like I said, Mr. Leader personally let me in. Ms. Beck stopped me, right? I didn't go to her and say I failed. What do I do? And so that was the other thing. Like people were looking out for me, and I had from my parents and my family the expectation that you have to do something. And number one, education is the way you're going to do it.
Sounds like
So,
there's a certain mindset that is established with all of these people that you're talking about. Your parents, Mr. Leader, Miss Beck, and as we go into Gail and Miss Peters, you know, there's a certain mindset, there's a certain expectation, and as I said before, there are no excuses going to be allowed. But it still comes back to you, Stefan,
right?
You know, with your discipline. So, yeah.
Right. So, in the midst of all of that, and like I said, I need things to keep me activated and to keep me occupied, or else I'm going to go get myself in trouble. I think that's without a doubt.
Yeah.
So in the midst of also finding America Israel Friendship League, I got involved in the law team because my grandfather was a lawyer. So for me, if you look at what your options are, you first look at what you have, like, you know, in your space. So
yeah.
I knew that because my grandfather was a lawyer, I at least have the DNA to become a lawyer.
Okay.
Right. So I didn't need to like second guess whether I could do it, because I'm a generation removed. If anything, I should be able to do it easier.
Yeah.
You know, so I knew that was an option. But of course, the law team was actually very competitive at Lehman. Randy and Richie were champs, and Randy, Richie, and Freddie were unbelievable, I would say, mini litigants.
Is that Richie Torres?
That is Richie Torres.
All right. Well,
that is Richie Torres.
What is
he
doing now?
Congressman Torres.
Congressman
Torres.
Richie Torres.
So he was, I mean, the main guy on the law team.
Yeah.
Right. He was the one who showed me how to be an advocate behind a podium. I mean, he was the first one. Ms. Beck, with all her years of experience, took us to Clifford Chance and worked with us. But Richie really had that, you know, that star quality, that he was an advocate. It was really in his blood. Me, not so much. Like I could talk a lot and I got a lot of feelings, but like Richie kind of had this lived experience about him to present these things. And that was amazing. On the law team, I was a witness. Kirby Martinez, rollover, accident, Ford Explorer, center of gravity. I actually still remember. But all of those things then also made me feel like I can do just about anything that I would like, because in Lehman High School, I'm here hosting students from Israel, going to Clifford Chance Law Firm, competing in MUCOR competitions. I also hosted a great kid from Chile, Antofagasta, in the north of Chile, Nick, who we're still very good friends with now. So exchange programs, you name it, and really, really dedicated educators, and a curriculum that would actually let you understand a little bit about the world, so you can go out there and do something. Nice. And the class we had in my senior year, so I can talk forever about like Ms. Beck and everything, but I know I gotta kind of like move it on.
No, I want to shift a little bit to your Israel trip.
Right.
How that experience, because I mean, first of all, the idea that you're going to take kids from the Bronx and exchange them with, of all places, Israel, right? Which is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And then you're going to send kids from Israel to the boogie down Bronx, and they're going to stay with your family. It's just, it seems like a fantasy, you know, because I've never heard of this happening ever.
Right.
And I witnessed it because I was part of AIFL.
Right.
Shout out to AIFL. So what was your experience like going over to Israel?
Israel was really life-changing. Israel, like I've told you before, for me, Israel is refuge from the world in many regards. The first time I went there, the first thing I saw was a bunch of black people like walking by in the streets at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I just landed.
In
And
Israel.
I called my mom and I'm like, there's a lot of black people over here. My mom's just like, good, so you'll feel at home. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to bed, like whatever. She's
You're gonna
like,
be all right.
yeah. She's like, well, first of all, you're the one who wanted to go. Now you called me talking about, so that was the first thing that I was just like, oh, interesting. So I'm not getting like stared at. Like I'm not like, no one is looking at me like I'm in the wrong place, right? And that can happen to you even in like Berlin. But like no one looked at me like I was out of place. And then when I spoke English and they're like, oh, you're from America, you're from New York, they then got excited. And then when I spoke Hebrew, they like really lost their mind. Because
What do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean you spoke Hebrew?
So after I met the Israelis, I started learning some Hebrew, put my keyboard in Hebrew, basically started teaching myself because I realized one of the most profound things you can do is communicate with someone in their language. And that will change someone's entire personality, their whole feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And language is how we communicate, of course, but the context of the language also defines how we actually interact with each other, right? So
and I hate to say this, it's so
say a couple words in Hebrew.
it sounds so corny, but can you can you say something in Hebrew?
Yeah. שלום, קוראים לי סטפן, ואני רוצה להגיד שלום לכל החברים שלי בישראל. אני מאוד מאוד אוהב אתכם ומתגעגע, ומקווה שאני הולך לשם, אני לא יודע מתי, אבל soon. I don't know the word.
The subtitles are at the bottom, people. No,
what did you say? I said like what up to my friends in Israel.
Okay.
And so when I speak Hebrew over there, the Israelis really treat me like unlike anything that I've experienced anywhere. Okay. So like in America, I can walk around as like a black guy, and you'll do fine in many places, not so great in some places, but you can probably manage. But in Israel, as a black guy from New York that spoke Hebrew, I like jumped levels in society like immediately. Like I can get into a club using that. Yeah. So
because you're part of the culture now, and being part of the culture changes everything.
Well, it's funny because it's not like they don't have race issues there, right? Mm-hmm. Because I got to be ahead of Ethiopians. Like I jumped ahead of Black Israelis in society. Like you can see it in the interactions sometimes, right? So that was also another interesting thing that they actually just accepted me.
Okay.
I mean, off the back, like my friend's dad would be like, Stefan, I feel like in the morning you have some problems, you don't know what to eat. I went to the supermarket, I bought all these things, and I'm like, whoa, dude, you really don't have to worry about me, like, but genuine care, love, and I wrote a speech about it that I gave for AIFL last summer, which I'm very, very proud of because I got to actually name some of these people. And the America-Israel Friendship League really opened up a whole avenue for my life.
So there's a lot of great things going on here. You're in Lehman High School, and Lehman, shout out to Lehman of old, because there were so many options provided. There were so many things going on. It's like if you were doing something that was really, 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 really by choice, because so much. I do want to skip ahead a little bit. I want to jump to like graduation, right? And like what happens after you graduate high school from Lehman?
So I guess that's another like big pivot, right? Because you leave the Bronx, you leave the safety of the Bronx, you leave the safety of the little community that knows you, right? There's no more Robert Leader stopping you in the hallway, right? There's no more Ms. Beck. And then I going to college, it was like a rough patch in the beginning because there was some issue with my SAT scores not getting sent out and whatever. But I got into John Jay.
All right. Got to John Jay.
Of course, start rough. The freedom, right? Now I'm taking the train into the city. Spending a little bit extra time walking around rather than doing what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. So it started rough, but ended fine. Ended up becoming like the treasurer of the Hillel, the Jewish club on campus. Okay. Ended up like having pro-Israel events on campus, which was the first time I realized how much people actually did not like Jews or Israelis. Okay. The first time I ever got called into a meeting because of the poster. The poster was said to be like anti-Islamic or something like that. And it really, in as far as I'm concerned, it really wasn't. It really wasn't. And that was the first time I really felt like, wow, people actually don't like Jewish people. But in the Bronx, all our teachers were Jewish. So,
Yeah.
and
Like, what's
you
the
know, Yom
where's
Kippur,
the
Rosh
disconnect?
Hashanah, those are our holidays in New York City public school. So that was the first eye-opener that people actually did not like Jewish people, and really didn't. And when I say like really didn't, I mean I got into a lot of problems with the administration at the school just trying to have events and put up posters.
Yeah.
And at John Jay it was one thing, but at Hunter College they used to actually have, they used to put up posts of like a separation wall dragging Muslim women through the lobby, pretending as though they're Israeli citizens. And it was the most insulting thing I've seen, because I've been to Israel.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to Israel by this point more than once. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Rodriguez.
Hey, James Rodriguez. Shout out to James Rodriguez.
I've been to Israel more than once. And in 30 seconds, they could destroy everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, they're talking about, oh, why aren't police officers in the U.S. Like trained to like actually shoot at someone's leg? I don't know, but if you ask what the IDF teaches people, they train them in English and in Hebrew and in Arabic. So I don't know. So, I don't know, but it's certainly not what's being projected or deployed like in general, right? Like people don't know. So that was the first thing I realized, that you actually have to go and see for yourself, because people will lie to you. People will lie to you about the world that we live in, and that's number one. Like, go to Germany, they pee in public, they don't get tickets.
Yeah, it's like, and in order for you to really appreciate that, you're right. You know, you have to travel. You know, a lot of people put money into sneakers and all these things. Put some money into traveling and getting some awareness and some exposure about what's really going on. Because if we watch the news every day and they just feed us, especially local news, all the news, they just focus on there's all of them say the same thing all the time. But if you really want to get experience, travel, people. Yeah. Now, Stefan, why did you go to John Jay? Was it intent of going to law school, or?
So I took a course in the end of Lehman High School called Crimes Against Humanity, right? Yes. So we studied Trujillo in Dominican Republic. We studied. Oh, by the way, on a side note, there was one girl who spoke out in class and said, "Why do we always have to learn about the Holocaust or slavery? Like, Hispanics went through something too, right?" So and all of a sudden we were learning about Trujillo, right? It's the Bronx. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean, right? So everyone got a chance to study Crimes Against Humanity and also hear about their own plight as well, not just like the one group that's sensationalized in history class. Yes. And at this point, there's like Darfur going on. So I went and I studied international criminal justice, because Stefan can do whatever he wants. I'm going to go and stop the war. Say it again, man. I'm going to stop the genocide in Darfur. Say it again. You could do whatever you want. People don't understand. You could do whatever you want. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I told myself. And I said, okay. So I'm going to study international criminal justice, double minored in political science and economics. And, I'm doing my thing. And at this point, I'm working. And I ended up doing fine. I graduated cum laude. But I did not, like, proactively go after law school while I was there, because I didn't think I needed to be a lawyer. I thought that I can actually go and do something more monumental, right? Like what I'm not going to limit myself. There's people dying in Africa. Like, what do you mean, be a lawyer, right? So then I realized, well, you're not. Kofi Annan was the head of the UN at the time. Stefan, I got to pause to say congratulations on graduating cum laude. I know you just said it like it was, whatever, but congratulations. What does that mean, by the way, cum laude? Because people, they hear summa cum laude. It just means it means honors, but I think just honors in your degree. So not, but well, like, congratulations coming from South America, Guyana. Thank you. To the boogie. I think my dad graduated summa cum laude, so I'm still not hitting the mark. You're not getting the props at home. You didn't do anything. You only cum laude. Yeah. So I Kofi Annan was the head of the UN at this point, and he went to Columbia University, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting into Columbia. Number one, I'm not taking that GRE. I'm not really down for all of this. Yeah. And then they didn't allow me into the pre-law program at John Jay, so I was just like, okay, so I guess I'm going to law school because you won't let me into your pre-law program. I'm going to do it all on my own. I don't need anyone to help me. And at this point, my grandfather's dead, so I'm not even getting advice from him.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, whatever, full speed ahead. And my mom's just in the corner like, well, how am I paying for this? Like, I'm like, Mom, whatever, you know, like that's her concern. She's not worried about like if you're gonna pass. She's like, where's this money coming from? Because those numbers are high.
Yeah.
You know? So at this point, she's, you know, paid for undergrad. So she's like, what do you mean law school? But anyways, I took the LSAT only once. I didn't do so well, but again, remember these things, these checkpoints or whatever, they're annoying to me. They're really inconveniences.
Yeah.
Right. These exams.
The standardized exams.
Meanwhile, back in the day,
meanwhile, back in the day, if you wanted to be a doctor, you just go to medical school, and if you sucked, you just wouldn't be a doctor.
Yeah.
You know, there was none of these standardized exams.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
So I'm irritated with the whole LSAT process, but make it pass. I'm irritated with the whole get letters of recommendation. Find people that like you, that want to tell other people they like you. Where? That are not family?
Yeah.
So all of this is like, you know, it's not my vibe. I'm already like, whatever the case is. So I applied to 2 law schools. I hear nothing back from one. The other one gives me like half in scholarship. So I'm like, that was pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Very easy decision when you only hear back from one and they give you 50% in tuition, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking, you know, I'm good. But then there's the whole moving to Long Island. There's the whole living out there. Yeah. There's everything that comes with that. But law school ends up being, you know, great experience. Probably one of the best things I did. I complain a lot about it, but definitely an eye-opener. Met a lot of great people, some phenomenal friends that I still have from law school. And the other thing I realized is that you actually need to put something on your name that people will recognize, because you can say whatever you want, but if I say I'm a lawyer, it all of a sudden becomes more important if the person believes me. If they believe me, then all of a sudden you're you know, somebody.
Everything changes,
right?
You know, and it's like booking a reservation at a restaurant. Everything changes if you put doctor in front of it. Right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Absolutely. And that was interesting to see, because it also meant you can do more.
Yeah.
You can do more. I can always talk about how I feel and what I think and all these things, but getting the law degree helped a lot. Yeah. And then of course there's the bar exam. And you know, I already told you how I feel about these things, right? So big shocker, I failed the bar exam.
What?
I failed the bar exam the first time. And I'm already working as a public defender in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So we all start together. And then the grades come out. So it's just like, well, who's the not so smart one among us? Who didn't make it, right? And I'm like, guilty as charged. And I failed by 2 points is 6 coronas in my head. Like I already did a calculation. Like I can do this right now and I'll be fine, right? Like I know what I did last time. I know what I didn't do last time, and I could find 2 points. I think the board of examiners could have found 2 points too, but that's a different story. I could find
that's another story.
I could find 2 points.
Okay, so you take it again.
So I take it again, and this time I end up, and I have to shout out to one of my friends, Jonathan Cohen, who actually called me when I was laying down on the floor of my apartment in Brooklyn, tired of studying, and he said, get your behind up, read the book, do what you have to do, and stop wasting your time. And that was probably one of the best pep talks I got. And it's so said, so done. Ended up passing with like 30-something points over how much was required. Okay. So that was also pretty telling that, like I said, if they had just read that thing again the first time, they would
wouldn't be in this situation now. But everything happens for a reason. Congratulations. Passing the bar, which is in New York, which is no small feat, is one of the hardest exams in the United States for everyone watching. And young black man passing the bar exam, and now you are a attorney.
Yeah, so that was a couple years ago, right? So I've been an attorney, and so I've had a lot of very interesting experiences since then. I've practiced in criminal court, housing court, family court. I've done jury trial, one jury trial, bench trial. Did a lot of stuff in family court, but and now I lecture also for the Borough of Manhattan Community College.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Man,
so I'm assistant adjunct professor.
Listen, man, you gloss over these things so easily. You are a professor at
part-time.
You're still a professor. Part-time, full-time, you're a professor. There's no such thing as part-time professor. It's professor.
Yeah,
right?
well,
So,
that's
right.
true. That's true because they
So,
definitely email you whenever.
yeah. So, shout out to you
Um,
being a professor at Borough of Manhattan Community College.
yes, and that's been a whole other like twist. So being a public defender, we can do a whole show about that alone. And I love all my former coworkers. They're still very good friends of mine. I'm gonna go see them when I leave right here. Actually, some of
Okay.
them. So that was, representing poor people in Brooklyn on criminal cases. That was really an experience of a lifetime. Unbelievable. I don't think I have the stamina to do it long term like some people can, because
Yeah.
basically people unload their entire life on you,
Yeah.
and you have to deal with it, which I guess is what lawyers do. But the teaching allows me to actually speak about issues in a non-adversarial fashion, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I realized over the pandemic, when everything was hitting with Black Lives Matter and all the killings and everything, it was getting really, really like not fun on Instagram and society. But the course I teach, or the courses I teach, is constitutional law
Okay.
and criminal justice and the urban community. My
Wow.
entire course is to speak about what happens in the urban community and the criminal justice system.
And
then I saw people challenging me, and I was just like, I actually get paid to talk about this. Why am I speaking to you? Like, my class is always full, right? They paid to sit here and have me say this.
I wonder why your class is always full.
I think I'm just lucky a lot of the time.
This conversation could go on forever. I do want you to share some things about mindset, right? And how it played a role in your journey. And can you tell us or share with us what was your aha moment throughout this educational journey?
I think there had to have been a couple of those moments. So there is, number one, I would say Mr. Leader letting me into Lehman High School was one of those moments of just understanding that they are gatekeepers, and that you're not entitled to anything, because I just felt like I would be fine, right? Like my family, people become lawyers and doctors, like you will just roll into that position.
Yeah.
No, you need to find who the gatekeepers are, and you have to be purposeful about that. So that was the first thing. My parents knowing Mr. Leader, right, in the way they know, like the way they got us to that meeting, and being purposeful. You're going to dress for the occasion.
Yeah.
You're going to arrive prepared.
Mindset.
Right? Because this is something that you would like to do, right? This is an objective of yours, right? That's number one. Another aha moment was definitely in Israel when I was leaving. The first time there was a sign that said, if you lose your need to wander, you belong. And remember I said when I got there was all these like changes of the way people were treating me and the elevation that was taking place. And that's why I kept going back, because if you lose the need to wander meaning to continue searching, then you belong, right? And that's also a very nice grounded feeling. And that's what I get when I go over there, right? Like so that's another thing. And also the travel aspect, right? The fact that you're seeing that sign in a world that you really were not supposed to see, right? That's not your world. That was not part of your destiny. But it resonated.
Stefan.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So those were the two sort of like biggest ones, because those were moments where I actually was trying to like understand what was going on or what I was experiencing or why I was feeling that way. And then something or some sign sort of like solidified it. And, one time it was Robert Leader, and then the other time it was literally a sign, El Al Airlines, right before you board the plane. Very good marketing, let me tell you. Haven't stopped going back.
So listen, brother, we could go on and on. I want to thank you for sharing your educational story. Before we wrap this up, I'm going to say shout out again to Robert Leader, who's they're naming a street after him tomorrow at 12 noon in front of Lehman. But I do want you to take the time to leave us with words of wisdom and some shout outs.
Words of wisdom. Well, I think one of the most important things to remember is that there's more than one way to win. There's more than one way to win. And don't feign affection from other people thinking that that's how you're going to do it, right? You don't have to go about it that way. You don't have to go about it the way that other people did it. You can make your own story. quite literally, quite literally.
Yes.
And in keeping with that same spirit, I want to give a shout out to my friend Nadia, who's in here. Baikal Auto Mall, if you guys are looking for a Chevy down in Brooklyn. I literally send text messages and I go and pick up a car. So if you want VIP treatment, my people got you. And of course, the America Israel Friendship League. Oh my God, I forgot to shout out John Nicolopoulos, my tennis partner in high school.
Yeah, right.
And Simon, I don't think he's on here, but yes, one of the greatest. I just helped him move, by the way. So that's also the other thing. All these people from like this entire story, they're all still very present.
Wow.
And
beautiful.
And still the same people for the most part. So that's also the other good thing. Try to look at the better qualities in people and make sure you keep the right ones around, because you need people that are going to keep you going forward, because it's a long road. It's a real long road.
It's a real long road.
And America Israel Friendship League. Big shout out to America Israel Friendship League and my boy Josh, my ride or die fellow Gemini.
Don't forget Gail Peters.
And John Paul, who flew with me to Israel the first time, by the way. He's the one who basically got me on that plane.
Wow.
But yeah, so super thankful to everyone, especially my parents, my mom in particular. My mom is obviously, the rock of all of this. And my grandmother, I didn't even mention my grandmother. She is the one I called when I got to America and I said, this ain't it. Pick up the phone and I called her. Direct line. I said, Grandma, it's a lie. It's a joke. Don't listen to them. She's like, are you calling me direct? I'm like, Grandma, we don't have time to think about bills. I'm telling you, there's travesty taking place right
How
here.
much money you spending, boy?
That's the first thing she's saying. I'm like, did you hear about the suffering part, Granny? But yeah. So, and thank you everyone who showed up tonight.
Yes. Shout out to
for having me. Appreciate it.
Shout out to Guyana GT Massive. Thank you, Stefan, so much for sharing your educational story.
Anytime.
That's what words. Stefan Esquire. All right. So, do you do any private counseling for anyone? Does anyone that's on the line?
I don't, but people definitely call me, and I get them the help that they need.
Okay.
So, if you need help, you can definitely call me, and I'll send you in the right direction at a minimum.
Does anybody on the line right now want to ask Stefan a question? If you want to ask him a question, just pop it in there.
Go for it.
A lot of your friends are on there. Your brother. Shout out to your brother. He's gonna kill us if we don't.
Big shout out to Wendell. He's probably not on here, but big shout out to Wendell. Okay. Obviously, I am who I am almost entirely because this guy is calling me at 7 a.m. to make sure that I don't be a bum.
Make sure you up. So listen, Stefan, as usual, thank you guys for logging on. Stefan, thank you for sharing your outstanding educational journey with us. This was quite a story. Thank you. Beyond proud of you. I think I tell you that all the time.
Yes, I also appreciate your continued support. I remember you stopping in Brooklyn when you saw me by the bar. And the most expensive beer you ever had because your car got towed.
Yeah, my Beamer was
I mentioned Solomon. Dave Solomon.
Yes, Dave Solomon.
My tennis coach.
One of the best golfers out there as well. Guys, once again, this is your educational story. Everyone has a story to tell, but what's your educational story? Tonight's quote is, your mindset is what separates the best from the rest. Your mindset is what separates the best from the rest. And also, as Stefan pointed out, your network determines your net worth. Okay, so make sure you surround yourself with the right people. And it doesn't have to be, net worth is not always about financial. It's also about, intellect and common sense, making the right decisions. So surround yourself with greatness and you too will be great. Again, I just want to shout out our 4 sponsors one more time. That's Miss Fanny Sweet Shop. You get $5 off on your first order. MissFannySweetShop.com. Enter coupon code YES, and of course Bloom Empowerment, bloomempowerment.org, and of course Dr. Hassan Tedder has written his 4th book, The Art of Human Care for COVID-19, drtedder.com, and of course Nicolette Emerson Massage Therapy, code YES20, and you get 10% off your first massage because self-care is more than important. That's NicoletteEmerson.com. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Shout out to my brother, Corso Smallhorne, and of course, shout out to Robert Lena. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. And Stefan, blessings to you.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
All right, brother. Peace.